What if the story you've been telling about your life isn't actually true? In this second part of my conversation with Kimber Hardick, we go into the deeper layers of midlife transformation, the ones that ask you to stop blaming, stop shrinking, and take radical ownership of your life. From rewiring old narratives to reclaiming your desires, your voice, and your truth. This is where the real shift happens. Coming back to that remembrance that we were talking at the beginning, is then noticing that power and use it, because we have that power as women. We have it as more like midlife, when we realize that, okay, this already happened. Like, how do I want then from now on to experience life, and choosing that power forward? Because we in general are so disconnected, and not only from emotions and sensations, and sometimes the disconnection between our heart and our mind, and also with our sex, because we come from there, but it's considered such a taboo that we think we are not part of it. We come from it. Right?
That's right. That's right. It's funny. So I'm going to talk about my book for just a second.
Sure.
Invitation to Shine, From Invisible to Invincible. This is about my healing journey over the last so many years. And I gave my daughter a copy of the book. And she looked at the table of contents and she was like, Mom, I'm not reading that. There's stories about sex in there. And so, you can't do this healing work unless you look at your sexuality. And for me, growing up in the era where I grew up, my mom would have these conversations with me about how beautiful sex was. And it was this lovely, wonderful experience. But if it was on TV or in a movie, it was bad and I couldn't see it. I couldn't watch it. And so when I got divorced in my 50s, I got to get back into the dating world, which was a trip. It was fun. There was all the things. And online dating was really where, thank God for online dating. I don't know how else people meet, right? I don't go to bars and clubs. And so one of the chapters in there is me creating my profile for the first time on a dating app, and all the shame of, and the emotions that came up. So my book really talks about emotions in each chapter. Each story kind of draws you in. It's talking about being in the cadaver lab, or some of my sexual experiences with tantra, and so it kind of draws you in. But underneath it all was the forgetting and the remembering. And so I had to forget all these things that I had learned about myself so that I could remember who I was. And so each chapter is a remembering at a deeper level, a more authentic level, a more uncovering. And sometimes, I might have had to uncover and remember several different times in different stories, because the remembering doesn't just happen in ta-da, you're a genius, remembering who you are.
It takes a lot of time.
You sometimes have to have another experience and another experience until you go, okay, I remember. I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to forget. And so I was given an invitation 2 years ago, just an invitation to step into my shining. And it was a 4-day intensive. And I really took it to heart. And I had to look at all the ways that I was still not allowing myself to shine. And in the process, I wrote this book. But one of probably the biggest things that shifted for me was retelling stories, not from a place of a victim, but from the place of the creator. And one of the big ones was why I stayed in a marriage long after its expiration date. And I would always say, I stayed for the kids. I stayed that long for the kids. And I realized I was making myself the helper, him the villain, my kids the victim. If I left, then I was becoming the villain. I mean, I was deep in that drama triangle. So I rewrote the story, and I realized I stayed as long as I did because I didn't know what else to do.
Mm.
And so there were several, stories that I realized I was still staying in the role of the victim. And here's an example. So we used to always say, well, my husband would never let me go back to work, and he wouldn't let me go back to school, and yada yada. But then this real story underneath that was, why did I feel like I needed his permission?
Ooh, that's a huge one.
That was a big one. That
We
was a big one.
wait
So I
for
started just
permission to move forward in life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I started with little moments like that, just little stories that, I clung to. I mean, like the gospel. And in the process, I started going deeper, and I realized I am an integration coach, but I also realized I have a very unique gift of being able to integrate big life experiences. And it turned into this book. And so I looked at all the ways that I was still not allowing myself to shine. And through the process, being able to shine. And before I released the book, I realized I believe this book is going to be a big deal in time. I mean, it's timely, it's relatable, it's fun, it's shocking, it's all the things
Love it.
that I needed to prepare myself, because I found myself at a crossroad. I was coming in from my backyard through the sliding doors, and I realized I've been here before, just on the verge of doing something big, and then all the reasons why I couldn't do it. I don't have the time. What about the commitment, showing up for these podcasts? And, now I realize I don't have those excuses anymore, but they're still kind of playing back there. So I really had to set the intention, and I did an intensive to step fully into my shining.
Mm.
And what that meant was expanding my capacity for what was to come, because I know there's going to be naysayers. There's going to be people that aren't going to like what I wrote.
Mm.
And I need to be okay with that. And if this book takes off like I want it to, and Oprah discovers it, or Reese Witherspoon's, or
Yes.
whoever, am I ready for what's to
Mm.
come? Because it'll be out of my hands by that time.
Yes.
So, there's one thing to have a mind knowing. There's another thing to have a body knowing. And then
Yes.
living knowing is the next step. So I've gone from having a mind knowing to an embodied knowing. And now I'm beginning to have a lived in knowing. And that's where I teach from. That's where I share from. I'm not a counselor. I'm not schooled. I'm schooled in life, in
Mhm.
my life, navigating the messy middle the best way I knew how. And my hope is that the tools that I'm creating, the calls that I have, my book will not tell you how to fix yourself, because you're not broken, but just kind of walk beside you and hold your hand and support you
Yes.
as you step into your shining. And so, I ask, here's your invitation to step into your shining. Will you accept it?
Yes. And so the thing is, before jumping into that, we as midlife, women in midlife, we feel invisible.
Mm-hmm.
From your perspective, what do you think is actually happening there that we
Mm-hmm.
have this kind of feeling?
We've actually become invisible to ourselves,
You nail
because
it.
we've put the needs of everyone else before us. The kids, we've taken on this role as we're the caretakers. We have to take care of everybody else, everything else. We keep ourselves busy so that we don't have to connect.
To ourselves.
And but
Mhm.
it being invisible, because I know I had someone say, oh, but I love being invisible because the men don't hit on me, or this doesn't happen. That's not the kind of visible that I'm talking about. The kind of visible is walking into a room and not needing anybody to prove my value, knowing my own value when I walk into the room,
Mhm.
not looking for external validation. not not walking on eggshells, not trying to make myself small so that I don't upset whoever, rock the
Yeah.
boat. Yeah, that's to me what and invisible is really in being invisible to myself and my needs and my desires, my wants. And, the desires, sexual desires, a lot of women, especially when they, are our age. Oh, I know we had started to tell you the story. I was in the cadaver lab and we were dissecting a human cadaver. And when we got down to the anatomy parts, sexual anatomy parts, Gil said, the only job of the clitoris is that of pleasure. That's it. It's its
That's
only
it.
job.
Yeah.
And yet we shun it, we hide it, we deny it.
Mm-hmm.
And that really shifted me into really checking into my desires.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an experience years ago with a woman after I got divorced. And I had never been with a woman. I was like, I'm exploring sexuality. I think I want to try to be with a woman. And so a girlfriend of mine and we went away on the weekend. And so we decided I'm going to give this a whirl. And I didn't know what to do with her. And I have a vagina.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, these poor men walking around without a vagina, without a pussy, and we just expect them to please us.
Yeah.
But if we don't know what pleases us and what feels good, and how are we going to share and tell the man? And so getting in touch with our own pleasures and not just sexual in nature. What pleases you? Where is your pleasure in
Yeah.
life, at home, in work? If you don't know what your pleasure is, then nobody else is going to, come in and fix it for you. And so
Yes.
that to me is what the whole invisible to invincible piece is really connecting with yourself and not leaving yourself and knowing yourself, knowing who you are, what you desire, what you feel, what you need. That's the invincible part.
Yes.
Doesn't mean being bigger and louder, and although you can do that
No.
if you want,
Yeah.
if it makes
Yeah,
you feel good.
definitely. But
I,
it's
I love it. I love it when I see older women, and I'm 64, so I guess I fit that category, but dressed in big bright colors and beads and glasses and the whole shebang. And I had on this outfit one time a couple of years ago, and I love it. It makes me feel like a fairy. And this woman came up to me and she said, I love your outfit, but my girls would have a fit if I wore something like that. And I said, if it makes you feel pretty, why
yeah.
wouldn't you wear it?
Mhm.
And so, that's that validation, needing permission. And I hear it a lot. I heard it not too long ago when I was out shopping, a woman saying, oh, I don't know. I need to ask my daughters what they think.
What?
What
Oh.
do you think? What do,
Uh-huh.
so many women are so used to giving themselves away that
Mhm.
they don't have a voice. They don't know what they think. They don't
Yeah.
know what they feel. They don't know what they need because they're so busy trying to be it for everybody else.
Yeah.
And that makes me really sad. It makes me really sad. And I moved to Panama and left my kids in the States. And I'd have people go, how are you leaving your kids and your grandkids? Grandparents don't do that.
Well, they have their lives too.
Exactly. I love my grandkids, but I raised my kids.
Hmm.
And if I stuck around and took care of my grandkids and then my aging parents, when is it going to be my time
Hmm.
to live my life? I got
Yeah.
married when I was 22. So I wasn't one of those that was fortunate enough to travel and do things before the kids came.
Hmm.
I'm not faulting anybody for that. That was just my life choice. And so the idea of continuing to live my life, and a lot of people think I'm selfish, and I'm okay with it
Hmm.
because I know what my intention is
Yeah.
and where my joy is.
Hmm.
And well, when I met my husband, he moved to Texas because his daughter lived there. And within 2 years, she moved to Arkansas. But
That's the
that's
thing.
okay that's okay when the kids move away, right?
But
But boy, the parents move away.
no, but that's the thing. Like coming back to that selfishness is like, who's being selfish? You, that you don't want me to move because you want me here? Or is it me because I want to build my own life?
And experience something new.
Yes.
Being an expat is something that's been in my radar for a really long time. We have the opportunity, possibility, and I'm married to a man that we both said yes. And I remember my daughter, she was really supportive, and she said, Mom, if you don't like it, you can always come back home. And I said, I know. And it's going to
Yeah.
be 3 years. It's going to be 3 years in April
Oh, wow.
that we moved down here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several grandmas down here
Mm-hmm.
that, and before we moved down here, we lived in a 50 plus community. And there were so many women. I played pickleball, and there were so many women that moved there from somewhere else in the US because their kids were there.
Mm.
And that's just kind of what, the construct of being a good grandma and a good mother is. And Glennon Doyle wrote a book. I can't remember the name of it. And she talks about, I know it's over there. She talks about we as women are conditioned to believe that in order to be a good mother, a good wife, a good daughter, a good grandmother, we have to self-sacrifice.
Take a breath with me for a second. If you are done performing healing and ready to leave it, home is a monthly space to regulate your nervous system, breathe with intention, and integrate what you already know into your body. It's practical, it's devotional, it's real. More details are in the show notes. Yeah, I don't agree with that anymore. I think
No.
that's also a condition and that's a program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
it
we
is.
don't come here to be sacrificed or to suffer for someone else. We're here to
No,
live, and I think that's part of the remembrance
it is. Yes,
that we
absolutely.
came
It
here
is.
to reactivate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. It came and it went. It'll probably come back. But yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I know what I was going to say. I used to be told that I was a superwoman because I took care of everything and everybody. And I wore that like a shield, like a fur coat. I was proud of the
Yeah,
fact that I could handle situations and I could do it. I don't get called that anymore. And I am so okay with it
I
because I
bet.
didn't come here to be a Wonder Woman, Superwoman for anybody but
But
myself.
yourself,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah. So I've lost friendships because of it, relationships, and they're just not where I'm at. And they don't understand. I feel like it's kind of like our constructs are bumping up against each other. They have this strong belief that no, this is how grandmother or mother should be, and I'm going and doing just the opposite and having this incredible life. And so it gets kind of lonely here sometimes. I'm calling in some women my age because the
I'm
young
on the
people,
way.
yeah. And so my focus on my women's group, and I think you'll love this. And maybe it's something we can, co-create together in some form or fashion, bringing women together to remember what it's like to be supported by other women and to support what it's like to support other women, because most of us were never taught that. And I shared this on a podcast I was on not too long ago. And bless her heart, it was a great podcast. It was a wonderful interview, but she recorded it on her phone while we were on the computer. And that's what she posted. And so the sound quality was terrible, but she had this video recording. So I was like, I'm going to support her. This is me jumping into helper mode. I'm going to
Mhm.
support her and encourage her because that was such a good conversation. So I took the Zoom call and I put it through Descript and I cleaned it up and I sent it to her. And in her mind, I was judging and criticizing that she wasn't good enough. When in my mind, I was supporting her. And we just had this conversation about women supporting other women. But some women don't know what it feels like to be supported by another woman. They only know what it feels like to be judged or condemned or criticized. And so in my women's groups, that's our focus, is to hold space for each other, not try to fix, but to support and then
Yeah.
be supported. And it's part of the remembering as well.
Yeah, that's true. Because, yeah, it is, we are so much powerful together when we
Mhm.
support each other. And sometimes it's just holding space. As you said before, it's not about fixing anyone, it's about noticing that, because many times we keep quiet in what we are going through, that we don't know that by speaking our truth, so many other they can relate. It might not be exactly
Absolutely.
the same story, but it can relate, and then you can come with more love, with more. I do like using the love compassion. I don't
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
it as you said, no, but just coming from that place of I am here for you, not
Right.
to judge you, but to hold space for you and to allow you to go through your path. And if you want help, I can help you. And if
Yeah.
you want just to be listened, I can just only listen.
Listen. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's why I have finally decided to step on this estrangement platform,
Hmm.
because I realize that I've had the privilege of time, money, tools, mentors to get me to a place where the estrangement has not caused me to just totally fall apart and lose my sense of self. And, a lot of these groups, people are replaying the story, and then someone says, "Oh, I'm going through this." They're building their anxiety.
Hmm.
And in my group, we're learning how to retell the story,
I love
to
that.
not get lost in the story, and to really, be in charge of how we experience it. It doesn't mean it doesn't still hurt,
Of
but it's
course.
not totally consuming us. So the conversations are different in my
Yeah.
estrangement group. And it's interesting because I'm in some of these other groups and I keep getting banned. They're there to support, and I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I have another way. We're not replaying the
Yeah.
stories. If you're ready to step into something different, it's called Parenting Forward, Finding Strength After Estrangement. And I can't tell you how many of the estrangement groups are like, okay, she's banned. She's banned. And they've got
Hmm.
10,000 people in their group. How do you support 10,000 people by yourself? It has become
Hmm.
for some of these people on whose their platform is estrangement and how horrible our kids are for doing this to us. It's a numbers thing and it's an ego thing and it's feeling a need for them, and that's fine. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm honestly looking for
Hmm.
people that are tired of
Yeah.
suffering, are tired, and
Yeah.
that can go through, any experience, but
Hmm.
sometimes breaking it up into people with shared experiences, you can have a kind of a shared language.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's for those groups is more like the intention of the gathering, right? Is what makes the difference. As you said, not coming there and then for what you were mentioning more is like, okay, these groups who are well, like they want to keep in the loop of the victim. No,
mhm,
the
mhm.
intention here is it's collaboration, is seeing whatever is happening to you in a different perspective and having that holding space and that it really creates the difference then for growth and evolution instead of victimhood and getting kept stuck in there.
Yeah. Well, and it also takes away they want to be the helper, and if they're not able to help you, then you're of no use to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all, the drama triangle is such a powerful first step in shifting,
Mm-hmm.
our story and where we are and how we respond and how we react. And I think what's really cool about this format that I'm creating, there's not an order. You don't have to do step
Okay.
A to step B, step C. You can join my calls at any point along the way and are still going to walk away with some value and know that you can come back and keep coming back and learn more and go deeper. And so there's no, and healing is like that. It's not a linear thing. It's a spiral and a
Oh, yeah.
down, back stepping and going forward and receding. And yeah,
Yeah.
this has
Mm.
been so lovely.
No, thank you. Thank you. I mean, it has been such a wonderful conversation. And I think we nail a lot of important things that, and maybe that because we talk about a lot about emotions. And I think
Mhm.
that's something very important because that's how we can remember who we are through
Absolutely.
those emotions by not blocking them, because that's
Mhm.
how we release, how we clean whatever it is there that is blocking us to be ourselves, for
Mhm.
that woman to be the one that she really wants to be and feel that call. Because as we were talking at the beginning, it's not the shoes or the hats, it's really that calling of, okay, I'm tired of this shit. Like, what is it? But it's only by doing the inner work and going through those emotions that the healing process, or better said, that remembrance is going to come through.
And if we're not in touch with our feelings, how do we know what we need when our
Mm-hmm.
needs are being met and when they're not
Yeah.
being met? And that shift right there, I think, is a mindset shift that might make people go, oh, right. Because our emotions are the message of your needs are being met or they're not being met.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not listening to them, then you don't know.
You
You
don't
just
know.
don't know. And I would say all but three stories in this book started after I got off of antidepressants and really started learning what it means to feel. And I had a teacher tell me one time, she drew a line, she had all the emotions. And she said, if you don't allow yourself to feel these emotions, then all the rest of them dim down. The emotions dim.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the girls in my women's group told me that she heard on a podcast, and I'm going to rephrase it in kind of my own language, but that joy is the mother of all emotions. And she won't come sit at the table until all of her children are welcome.
Mm.
So if you turn
Wow.
down your anger, you turn down your sadness, you're turning your joy down, you're turning it all down. And this work isn't about becoming more emotional. It's about becoming more emotionally whole. And our emotions are not storms to survive. They're part of us.
Yes, yeah.
And if we don't make space to feel them and to welcome them, they're going to control us in the background. We just aren't going to be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so by tapping in and becoming aware of what it is that we're feeling and why, and separating the emotion from the behavior that we associate with the emotion is important as well. So
Yeah.
I can feel sadness and not have to go and have a long, hard cry. I can have a cry if I want, but that's not necessarily how I'm going to relieve myself of the sadness. There are all sorts of practices. If an emotion does get stuck through sound, primal scream is one of my favorites. I've
Yes.
taught it to kids. It's an amazing practice. You can do it by yourself with the just on the floor. You can do it with a partner, and it's super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Shaking and moving, putting on some music and just shaking. If you feel an emotion is
Oh,
stuck, and
yes.
just shaking for 3 to 5 minutes, even just flicking right now, flick your hands with me. Just
Yeah.
flick your hands.
It's just so powerful.
And as you flick and you flick and you flick, do you feel how that energy is moving up into your arms?
Yeah.
And then you stop. What do you feel?
I can feel like, like
Yeah,
the
that's
energy
energy.
moving through.
And emotions are energy in motion.
Yes.
And so if they do get stuck, tapping, clapping,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many somatic practices that can be done. And I have a whole toolbox of things to take out
Mm-hmm.
when emotions feel stuck for whatever reason. And they do get stuck because we don't know what we're feeling. And so they go and they hide.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Kimber, has been a pleasure, literally
Yes,
a
it
pleasure
has.
having you here at
Let's do it
Midlife
again. Let's
Butterfly.
do it again. Let's
Sure,
do
why
it
not?
again.
Thank you. I do love your energy, your laughter, your smile. I mean,
Thank you.
you are literally shining,
Thank
right?
you.
As the name of your book. And I'm gonna be sharing all the links in the show notes so people know how to reach you.
Thank you.
And you already answered this, but I would like to know if there's something else, because this is a this is a
The
question that
closing. I know.
yeah,
I
the
took it out.
closing question. So I'm gonna ask again if something else pops up, like what's the pleasure you enjoy the most?
A simple pleasure I enjoy the
Simple.
most, besides the one I just mentioned earlier. Getting up and having coffee in the mornings with my husband and watching the
Mm.
sunrise,
Mm.
spending the end of the evening curled up on the couch in his lap watching TV. Doing podcasts is amazing for me, talking about my book and working on the work that I'm creating. I was talking to another teacher yesterday, and she's like, I'm just getting really tired of teaching. I want to leave a body of knowledge behind. And I said, exactly. I don't claim that this work is just mine,
Mm-hmm.
but I've put it together in such a way through a different lens that I think it's going to be helpful. And I
Yeah.
want it to be accessible. And my book also, you know, it's so exciting for me. I have one sitting on my bookshelf. And it's like every time I walk by, it's
Mm-hmm.
like another invitation, a reminder. This is my invitation.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning into Midlife Butterfly. I hope this episode empowered you in some way. Share the love by hitting follow wherever you're listening and leave a review if you feel inspired. I also love to connect with you. Come say hi on Instagram at Midlife Butterfly. I love to know you. Until next time, keep spreading those wings and live in joy, growth, and pleasure.